Hey, and welcome to the Vergecast for the week of June 25th, 2012. I'm Josh Topolsky, editor-in-chief of The Verge, and with me, as always, is Ellis Hamburger.
Hey there.
And my wife, Laura June.
Hello.
People have asked, they've requested, they've begged, they've sent me personal paper letters
to get me on
to
here.
my home address, which I don't know how they got, and they said, "Dear Josh, if you don't put Laura on the Vergecast, I will kill both of you while you sleep." And I said, "All right, I'm convinced. Let's get her on." Here she is.
Hopefully we won't argue the whole time.
Please stop saying that. You're embarrassing me. So this is the first time Laura's been on ever. You came on. You were
And
on,
Ellis too, right?
and Ellis.
Yeah, I'm a new.
Ellis is making a lot of appearances on the site this week. And
Hey.
also Ellis and I coordinated shirts today, which I think is pretty tight, right? This is like what you'll look like in 10 years. You're going to become way bigger and have a huge
My mustache
beard.
is gonna be more filled out.
Your mustache will be way better. Anyhow, and we have Dieter Bone behind us.
Hey, everybody.
As I like to refer to him, the Bone Zone, which he loves.
It never gets old.
No, it doesn't ever get old, and it's always funny. That's the thing. Always funny. Anyhow, this is the Vergecast where we discuss the week in technology culture and culture, if you like. And this week we're also going to be talking about the Culture Club. How relevant were they?
Very.
Very relevant in 1984. Anyhow, no, this is a big week of news, mostly Google news. Google.
Google.
I want to know
No
that
Google News.
You can Bing it if you want.
No
to
Google news. No Google news, but Google News.
I just want to tell you that someone in the chat has already noticed you have a new mic stand.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, these guys are really perceptive. They've been complaining all week about our.
They don't miss a beat.
They've been complaining all week about the fact that somebody in the background of 90 Seconds on the Verge, our new daily show, was mirroring the same screen on two monitors, and it was really bothering them. And this has been a topic.
There's a whole forum thread.
It's been a great topic of debate amongst our readers, which indicates to me that our readers, while I do appreciate the fact that they're paying attention, might possibly have too much time on their hands. I can't be sure. That's not an empirical factoid, but
well, they're cult subscribers to everything Meta Verge.
They
I
also
love that.
claimed to have seen a horse head in the background of last night's, but I didn't see it. I didn't see it either.
we can't be sure. You may see a car in the background with a license plate that says Paul is dead. But he's not dead. He's just off the internet. Okay. Anyhow, we should get into it. I just got back this morning from San Francisco, where we were covering the Google I/O Developer Conference, and you may have seen we published at 3:30 in the morning my review of the Nexus 7 tablet, and we have a deeper dive of some other stuff coming very soon. Jelly Bean, the Q, and some deeper thoughts about Project Glass, which I'm going to spend all weekend writing. Just kidding. I'll be sleeping. Anyhow, let's talk about the announcements. Nexus 7.
Jelly bean scene.
Please leave.
I already made a mistake.
Nexus 7. Nexus 7. What do you think? Let's go. Ellis.
I don't know why anybody would buy a Kindle Fire. That's all
At
I'm
this
gonna
point.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were calling it a Kindle Fire. No. It was just a Kindle Fire. Laura, what do you think?
What was the score that we gave it?
8.8.
8.8. It's pretty good.
It is
I
good.
haven't used it yet, so
it's
I don't
the
know
second
yet.
highest rated
But
tablet that we've
literally
reviewed.
everyone is up in arms, fawning over it.
It's
So,
good. It's really
yeah.
good. It's like if a company that made the software also basically made the hardware, and they put them together, and they were both pretty good.
But the funny part is that it's a year old, according to Sean Hollister?
Yeah, Sean had.
Year and
Oh
a
wait, hold
half.
on, wait. Let me get Dieter's reaction. Dieter, your reaction on that? You've got one over there.
Yeah, no, it's my favorite Android tablet, and that would normally be damning it with faint praise, because every Android tablet previous to this one I haven't been able to use without wanting to chuck it out the window. It's great. I'm really, really pleased with this tablet, and for $200, it way overachieves.
I don't know if it's the reality distortion field that Google shot all over everybody when Sergey Brin had people jump down onto the roof of the Moscone Center, but
Twice.
twice. But it's big. People have been very positive about it, and I feel very positive about it. I think it's really good. I mean, I can envision a world where I'm using that on a daily basis.
Well, I feel like it's kind of like symbolic of the whole thing. Everybody's doing hardware now. You know, Microsoft, like a week later, we see this. I mean, is that the better way to do it?
It's Apple's world. We just live in it.
Is it the better way to do it?
I think what's a better way to do anything is when if you're a person who has a vision, or if you're a group of people that have a vision for how you want something to work, that you do that end to end.
How did the hardware partners feel this week?
So I've heard
after Microsoft and Google I/O.
Oh, well, they haven't. They're very quiet. Hardware partners have been very quiet. But this is what they've been doing all along. I mean, they did this with Samsung. They've done it with Motorola. I mean, the Zoom. They did the Galaxy Tab last year, which was kind of like the first-party tablet. But I have heard, this is a kind of a side note to that, I've heard from sources familiar with the matter that Asus was a very good partner for Google. They were very easy to work with. And that some of their other partners maybe were not as
compliant.
Yeah, not as easy to work with. And that Asus.
You mean like the wholly owned subsidiary Motorola? Which can we talk about that? Like they bought Motorola and their Nexus tablet is coming from Asus. Isn't that just a little weird?
But they just bought Motorola like 2 weeks ago. I mean, they officially cleared the sale. They can't just.
They agreed a while ago.
Yeah, but they can't just. But they can't just make a product. I don't think in the period of while they're waiting for that to be approved, they can just start doing stuff.
They don't just like have a picnic, and be like, fair. Let's start now.
I mean, because that would be unfair. I mean, that would be all kinds of violations. I'm sure of all sorts of rules from some kind of organization that makes rulings on whatever the hell it is that we're talking about. I want to. Can
I go back real quick to this thing about integrating software and hardware?
Yes.
Like, I don't know if I fully buy that. I don't know if the reason that this is good is because Google got to do a better job of integrating Android with this particular hardware, and there's something magical and special about Jelly Bean and this Asus tablet. I almost feel like, and the same thing applies to Microsoft. Like, it's like they just have a different philosophy about like shepherding the value of their brand, and all these other OEMs are like, well, if it sucks, we'll have another one out, in a month or in 6 months, and so we'll just try again. But where Google and Microsoft and Apple come in, like they need to make sure that hardware that has their name on it is really good, and that has more of an effect than the quality of integrating, software and hardware in one thing.
So I just realized, speaking of the hardware, I did an interview with Matias Duarte, who's Android's head designer, and he had his hands, he claims. And I believe him because why would he lie? He's had his hand on all of this stuff on obviously the new version of Android and the tablet and the Q. He was involved in at least the software side, and which as far as I can tell is nothing to boast about, and people shouldn't say that. And the tablet. Did I say that already? I don't know if I did, but he talked about the design of the tablet. And he was very insistent that, even though this was apparently based on Sean's report, this was like this was a design that we had already seen that Asus had worked on. That
same model number.
Same model number, but that they had a lot of like collaboration on the actual like housing and sort of
and the back, and there's no SD card and a few other details.
And I do believe that, and I think that but it's interesting to see that when you to your point, Dieter. By the way, it is very warm in here. I think there's actually a bead of sweat dripping down my face right now.
It is insane.
It's like anime style. It's like this big.
Yeah, it is like it's gonna be a zoom of it. And there's gonna be like flashing colors in the background. Anyhow. But I mean, this isn't like a Google-owned product. Essentially, like it was created by Asus. It was tweaked by Google, and it is now what you see in front of you.
But Asus never brought it to market, right? Like that's part of Sean's report is that it essentially sort of disappeared. They announced it, and then it never came to market as a thing. So it's essentially just Google's tablet.
I feel like what happened, and I mean, he basically says this, or at least alludes to it, is like Google saw that, and they were like, let's make a super cheap tablet out of that thing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. You agree?
I think that's what he's saying.
See, things are going well.
Yeah.
Going back to what
I
you were
think we
saying
all
about,
agree.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying about Motorola, though, I mean, that was some time ago, but I mean, Google says what they were working on this for 4 months. I mean, that was a ways back, and seems like they've been working on it for, or at least a lot of the hardware was ready for some time before that. It's not like the Motorola thing could just
I mean,
turn it around.
I wonder if that 4 months is that's not just that. I mean, it's obviously not the creation of the thing.
Right.
4 months is like
it was the memo,
the finishing touches.
Yeah.
The memo.
It needed the Steve McQueen behind.
Exactly. Anyhow, so does this pose a threat to the iPad? Is this an actual competitor to the iPad? What do you think? Go.
I think people are looking for really different things. I mean, for one, it's like if you have a Galaxy Note, let's say you're the kind of person you have a Galaxy Note and you have the new Nexus 7. I mean, where does that, like, when you're looking at tablets, you want something that
Did you
fits,
say Galaxy Note?
Yeah, I'm saying you want something that fits the scenarios. I'm not saying it's a competitor. I'm saying you need a phone and a tablet.
I'm saying I don't know if you have owned a Galaxy Note. What is the screen on that? 5.8. What's the screen size?
3, isn't it?
5.3. It's a huge screen. This is only a little bit larger.
Yeah, and I feel like you want to have two devices that differ in size enough that you know when to pick either one.
Yeah, but I will say that when I was talking to Matthias, he was like, I'm a book lover. And we have an interview, by the way, I just tweeted about it because I forgot that we had gotten it up. We have an interview with Matthias, and he talks about, again, we were discussing sort of the design of it, and he talks about how he's a big book reader, and he loves holding this with one hand and having a sandwich in the other, or whatever. Which is, like, by the way, a great mental image of, like, Matthias.
That's the Nexus 7 advertisement.
And an extremely loud and extremely no, not shirtless. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. That's just you thinking that. That's very sexy stuff. Very sexy. And no, Matthias in one of his very loud, like, shirts.
Or white suit,
I imagine peanut butter jelly sandwich in this hand. Great book in the other. What's he reading? What's Matthias reading?
Wabi Sabi. It's Jack Dorsey's favorite book on design.
Why would he be reading Jack Dorsey's favorite book?
Because he's a designer.
No, Matthias is out there. He'd be reading something. He's like reading like On the Road. No, too common.
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yes. Dieter, you want to sound off on what Matthias might be reading?
Let Us Now Praise Famous Men. That's what he's reading.
What is that?
It's a book. It's a book, man, written during the Great Depression.
Speaking of books, if you check out audible.com... No, I'm kidding.
I think the commenter's got it right. I think he's reading Cormac McCarthy on there.
But oh, by the way, did we have a sponsor this week, Creighton?
Yeah, actually,
Oh, let me just take a break right here. An interstitial,
perfect segue,
if you will. It is. We have a sponsor this week, and I'd like to talk about them. Internet Explorer 9.
Wah, 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 wah.
Yes, thank you. Less browser, more Verge is the ad, I believe, that's running on the site right now. They made these like custom ads. I assume they're running on other sites as well, and they're like, there's one running on Gizmodo. It's like less browser, more Gizmodo. I don't know if there is, but they're running on our site, and it makes me want to use Internet Explorer very badly. Unfortunately, they don't make a Mac version. So here's a thought. Microsoft, make a Mac version of Internet Explorer. I mean, right? Am I crazy? If Google can make, by the way, this maybe is a good segue, but I think we should talk a little bit more about some of the announcements on day one. If Google can make Chrome for iOS, you can make Internet Explorer for the Mac. Think about it. Anyhow, all right, so go ahead. No, go ahead.
I want to go back to your question, which was, is this a competitor for the iPad?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I think it's a really complicated question, but I think you have two types of people buying things these days. And I think that Vlad in his editorial made a really good point, which is the touchpad, which was not a successful product, and everyone knew, well, most people, knowledgeable people, knew was a dead end. As soon as they put it at a certain price, people like bought them. There was like a frenzy.
There's only like a million of them.
Because as soon as something's cheap enough, some of those questions don't matter anymore. So I think they have a chance with consumers like that, so the answer for the iPad would be no, because they're not that cheap.
Right. I think they're not necessarily trying to beat the iPad just yet. I mean, shooting for second place at this point, when the iPad has how much market share, like more than 75.
Yeah.
And you're shooting for second place, which I think, the Kindle Fire set a good bar, but I think this transcends that bar. Yeah. And if you get into second place, then
they're right now, this is taking aim at the Fire from what I can see.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, the problem here is that they don't have the one thing the Fire can offer that is truly enticing to most consumers, which is like Amazon's content selection and Prime, which means like not only do you get the content selection, but you get a bunch of stuff for free if
lots
you have
of
Prime.
Instant video,
like thousands of videos, and you get like free books and music,
lending
and
library,
there's a lending library.
So I think.
But most people don't know about Prime. That's one thing I've learned.
I think that's the second type of consumer, which is the kind who is now thinking about buying into an ecosystem.
Yeah. But isn't that the whole thing? Isn't that why they had all this Play stuff?
Yes.
I mean, they want to
I think
show
they're trying to build a robust ecosystem.
They called themselves the world's largest bookstore, didn't they? At the event, Dieter?
That's Amazon.
I didn't catch that.
No, they called themselves like the world's largest. Can somebody dial up my live
It
blog?
totally counts, Gutenberg.
Live blog.
Mark
Hold on. What was the name of this? Google I/O. Day one. Yeah, this is, by the way, this is when I search for anything. This is how I search.
You say it out loud.
I go LiveBlog, Google I/O. There it is, right there. So I'm pretty sure they said something about it being the largest. Let me do a quick search for largest. Anybody in chat say anything? Where is it?
No. They're trying to,
they said they have-
determine
Google
who
Play.
I am right
Google,
now.
finally, Google Play is the world's largest ebook collection.
There you go.
Tricky language there.
It is.
Tricky
Well,
wording.
it doesn't matter how many
Well, what was
physical books you
interesting
sell
is-
if you're not trying to sell physical books.
Yeah, during the keynote, I think
That's
that, they
basically
had
true.
the Google Play guy come up and talk about
Kinda
about
true.
Google Play for a long time. And when you first boot up the Nexus 7, the main home screen is completely filled with a giant
It looks
Google
like
Play.
it looks like the Fire. It looks like the Fire.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what's
got
funny.
like a
It
big
does.
book and a big song and
Amazon's catalog of content is already like so respectable, and they're just going from day one, adding TV shows, adding things like that,
Yeah.
and they're saying, all right, here's why you're going to buy this. We're going to make this at a loss, perhaps, yet you're not familiar with any of our content library
right.
yet.
I mean, it's a tough sell on that point. But where it isn't a tough sell is that I think it's as full featured a device as the iPad in many regards. Like it doesn't have a slower, cheaper. I mean, it's got a slower, cheaper CPU in comparison to some things, but it's actually like pretty powerful, and it has a pretty decent screen. It's higher resolution than the Fire, right? The Fire is 1024 by 768.
It's I know this one's 216 pixels per inch.
216
Yeah.
ppi.
Yeah.
So the actual the pixels per inch, they're pretty high. Like the pixel depth is pretty decent, and it's really fast. The software is really full featured. You can download all Android apps. It's not just like stuff that's in the Fire store, in the Kindle store. And also it should be noted, you can go get the Kindle app, and you can go get Amazon's MP3 app, and you have access to that stuff. But it doesn't have any Prime.
I wonder how this is going to, I wonder how consumers are going to receive this, though, because, people are...
Sorry, I hate to interrupt. Sorry, but you can also download. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Amazon App Store, and that's all the same stuff that's on the Kindle, right?
Anyways. Yeah, I
Would it
assume
be
so.
compatible with this? If HBO Go makes, I guess I don't know what HBO Go's deal is, but if they make a Kindle version, wouldn't it you could just throw it right onto this thing? I mean, I guess you'd have to get it. You'd have to
that
get it
doesn't
approved.
sound like it would work.
I mean, but
it sounds like it should.
But you can download the Amazon
Right.
App Store for other devices. So I don't know what the crossover there is. Anyhow, what were you saying?
I was just going to say, I don't think consumers are going to be incredibly receptive or as receptive as they were to the Fire. Because, going from the regular Kindle, taking a step up, you're like, I'm already familiar with this company. I'm already familiar with how to order stuff on Amazon. And you look like the Kindles are the top things sold on the entirety of Amazon.
Well, they're pushing it on every page.
Right. And I'm saying, I think people are
Every
so
time you
familiar
buy a
with
book,
that.
they're like, "Did you know you could get this book on the Kindle Fire?" Mm-hmm. I mean, they do that. I mean, how can you not buy it?
And it's a great strategy. I try not to buy books on Amazon. When I'm talking about physical books, I try to buy them in my local bookstore.
Ooh, a local bookstore buyer,
but
really.
I buy books on Amazon all the time just because I'm browsing and I see them. So, I think they're really effective at selling things that people don't necessarily want or know that they need.
I feel like right now I'm really appreciating what a T-shirt does. Because
it's wonderful.
Because what's happening underneath this shirt is very uncomfortable.
Mesh pennies next week.
It is not warm, just warm in here. It is. I would describe it as hellish or hell-like. Is how I would describe the temperature in this room.
You guys need tank tops.
Can you just crack the door open and get a fan going in here? I mean, is this a Turkish bathhouse? And if so, should I remove all of my clothing and put on a very small towel? Laura, the look in Laura's eyes said yes. Alice,
That's not what
I'm
the look
just
was saying.
scared being
Alice,
between
I'm
you
not so
guys.
sure. I'm not
just
so
scared
sure.
being between you guys in
Anyhow,
general.
so I think a lot of people were. Went and bought these, went and pre-ordered them because like $200 is also. I mean, you want to get the 250 version because that has 16 gigs of storage and there are no other storage options. So like you do not want the 8 gig in my opinion. But if you only have $200, is the Fire 16 or 8? It's 8, isn't it? Mm-hmm. The bottom end. There is only one. Is it 16 or 8? Can somebody tell me? How can I not know this? Am I stupid? I reviewed it.
I thought it was 8.
I think
It's 8.
I think it's 8.
Chat says 8.
It's 8.
Chat says 8.
Approximately 6 gigabytes available for user content.
Chat's always right. So, I mean, I do think the sell to the mainstream is still pretty hard. But what I hope will happen is that developers will look at this thing and go, hey, this is actually a good, nice, cheap tablet, and some people are going to buy these. Like, let's make some decent apps for them. There are better apps. And one of the things that I noticed, and I comment on the fact that there is still a lack of apps really tablet optimized apps. But one of the things that I'm not sure that I say, I can't remember if I put it in the review or not, is that the 7-inch screen, I think I say it in the video, the fact that this is a 7-inch screen versus a 10.5 inch or 10.1 inch, not 10.5, 10.1, makes a big difference in how phone apps transition. Like Twitter, which is not any different than the phone app on this tablet, actually feels...
It's workable.
It's not ridiculous. Like, you can look at it in portrait and use it, and it doesn't feel like this is silly, like it doesn't match up on this device at all. And I think that's a big deal for them. I mean, I think that makes the transition between those apps way less awful. But they still need developer support.
What do you think, Dieter?
Well, I think that the main thing versus the Fire is, can Google like market this thing and get it into retail channels outside of, you know, the online Google Play Store to try and match that power that Amazon has to throw the Kindle Fire in front of everybody that's already shopping on Amazon?
I think,
you know, we know that Target dropped the Fire, right, because they didn't like the, you know, Amazon competition. And so, I mean, if Google could start pushing it into more retail channels, then it could gain enough mind share to be, you know, people think about the Nexus tablet instead of just a Kindle Fire when they think of cheap tablets.
That's really interesting. If they could get it into a place like Target. I also feel like there's a real possibility, you know, Samsung is doing these pop-up shops. I feel like there's a real possibility that Google could do the same thing. I mean, when I went in for this interview, they had a line, they had like a shelf set up with the phone, the tablet, 2 docks for the phone, the Q, and maybe there was some other stuff there. I can't remember. And it looked like a store. I mean, it looked like things that matched, that went together, that were nicely designed, that should be sold together. And I feel like, and their design is really nice. I mean, I think Google's design is the best design right now on like a mobile platform for the actual devices. And their actual, like, I think the device design is not... you know, look, the iPhone is a more beautiful phone than the Galaxy Nexus, and the iPad is a more beautiful tablet than the Nexus 7. But I think that they're pretty nice looking, like, for what they are. They're pretty restrained and pretty classy. And I think that if you presented that to people, they would actually see. They need to see it. You know, physicality is a big deal. You know, and if you don't have like the brand of Amazon, where people are just going to go like, oh yeah, it's Amazon, and I know what I can get on here. I wouldn't be surprised if they start doing some kind of weird pop-up shop thing, holiday, mall, streetcar.
Christmas, how many units? Nexus 7. Let's go, Munster.
They got to find a way. They have to find a way to make it make sense for Christmas shoppers. I mean, what is the sell? It's like iPod Touch, Kindle Fire, or if this is the $200, like, I want to get somebody a multimedia device.
It's
iPod Touch, Kindle Fire, Nexus 7.
I'm scared, man. I think that having, I know, you know, the Nexus Q is going to be in the commercials for these things.
Can we talk about the Q?
And it's going to be really confusing. So people will be like, do I need it?
I don't think the Q is going to be in the commercials that much. I think I spoke.
Oh, it's part of the ecosystem.
I don't think so either.
I spoke to a person familiar with the matter, and I got the impression that Google did not do the Q to make it a big mainstream device. I think they did the Q because it's audacious and weird. And it's cool for certain things. I actually don't think it's right now. It's a good product. I mean, we've been testing it here, and we've been testing it on the West Coast, and it has a lot of problems. Like, I believe it's a very problematic product for even what they wanted to do.
How long did it take you to get the thing working?
I mean, we had a lot of problems with the setup. It's hard to reset if you need to. It's like very touchy. Like, the connectivity is extremely touchy. Like, I mean, look, it's not available to consumers yet. We're using essentially like not a beta version. Well, let's call it a beta version. I don't know where this is in the grand scheme, but I mean, Dieter, this is beta software, is it not?
I mean, it sort of is, because it only works with Jelly Bean devices right now, but they say it's going to work with everything down to Gingerbread by the time.
It's on your shoulder, basically.
Yeah, no, I put it there on purpose.
like a little
so that we
yeah.
could, you want me to
bring it over. Get it over.
I'm gonna unplug it so you won't get the.
Can you get those lights radiating for us?
Look at that.
It's it's smaller than your head.
Show the back. Can you show the back?
Yeah, sure.
So this is the Q. So let me explain. Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. So hold it right there. So this is the Q, okay? It is a music streaming and video streaming device. It has banana plugs in the back for speakers. It has an amp inside. So this can power speakers. I mean, this you can literally hook this up to a pair of speakers with banana plugs and play music on it off of your tablet or phone that running Jelly Bean. Here's what
really
it does.
Heavy.
It outputs.
Can I stop holding it up now?
Yeah, you can stop holding it up. It's very heavy. It's actually a really beautifully made thing, and also it's made in America. And we can touch on that because Laura, you wrote a report about that, or an editorial. What is it, like an ediport?
It's both.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, but it's the point of it is that you hook it up to your TV and or your stereo or your speakers, and you use your Google Play content on it. You play your Google Play content on it. You can't play. It does not have its own interface.
It's pulling it all from the internet.
It's
you're
pulling
using your phone as a remote.
You're using your phone as a remote, but there is no. You're not controlling. It's hard to explain. There's nothing that you're controlling exactly. You're just basically telling it to play the content you've selected on your device. But it's streaming on the queue. It isn't beaming it from your. So it's not like AirPlay in the sense that it's like streaming it from the device onto the thing.
It's so strange. I mean,
but then you can't. It doesn't have an interface, which means that when you plug it into your TV, there is no like remote app. It's just like your Google Play content.
What's this? You're paying $300, and you can't even watch the movies you have on Google Play.
You can't watch. If
your phone.
No. You can watch the movies you have on Google Play.
Well, no, I'm saying you got to activate it with your phone.
You have to have your phone or your tablet, and also it
but
doesn't.
Who doesn't?
Well, no, but it doesn't play. It won't play your local files.
Right.
So
it won't play local files.
It won't play if you had
music, you have to upload it to Google Play.
If you had 6 gigs, if you had 6 gigs of music stored on your phone,
you also don't need an iPhone to use an Apple TV.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's got its own interface. I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
Damn it, Ellis. I'll tell you what. This new guy, not really working out here.
Stepping on feet.
Just interrupting with factoids, unrelated factoids. By the way, great new album from one of my favorite bands, which I'm not going to tell the name of. Anyhow, if Neeli were here, he'd have picked right up on that and had something. Why can't you be more like what? The Hamburglers, Krayshawn? Really? This is devolving at a rapid pace. That's a song from the album, actually, devolving at a rapid pace. It's kind of like thrash metal. It's like thrash disco. Anyhow, what was I talking about?
We were talking about the queue. And about how expensive it is, considering there's no interface
as Alan said,
on it.
there's no interface. So you can't do things like, it's not Google TV, which is a product they make, which like lets you play stuff on a TV and or stereo. It doesn't have its own interface. It doesn't have other content. You can't play content that's stored locally. It won't beam your content local from your device to the thing. And it won't, you can't like say, I want to watch Hulu on my TV using this, or I want to, not Roku, Netflix. And the reason I was thinking of Roku is because Roku, here's what they're competing with. They have a $79 box that does a bunch of different streaming things. They have an RDO app now, right? Roku? Does anybody know? You should know.
Yes,
somebody should know. Anyhow, they've got like Netflix and Hulu and HBO Go and all this stuff, and it's like this thing is like a really expensive, weird-looking amp that also plays content that you probably don't have much of, which is Google Play.
Yeah.
Like Google Play is
That's
brand.
the thing. Like this,
for most people, Google Play is brand new. They've never heard of it before.
Yeah, this thing is all about Google Play, and I mean, I know Google wants to build this, content ecosystem and compete with iTunes and compete with Amazon, but it's not there. And even if it is there, nobody knows about it. And so I don't know anybody that's clamoring for a magical device that'll stream their Google Play content because they have so much of it. Right.
I mean, I have music. I upload music to Google Play when the music from my computer gets uploaded. And so it's there, so that's nice. And I will say the coolest thing, as we were testing today, the coolest thing it does is that you can plug in speakers, and it's like a little amp, and it rotates, so it's a volume control, and it has a mute. You can touch it, and it mutes, and it's awesome that it's like this standalone thing that you can just plug speakers into, and it just works. That's cool, but everything else around it is like basically hacky and broken right now.
So it's funny that you say that. It kind of strikes me, and I don't really know their motivation, but Google's a company who historically has taken a lot of chances and done a lot of like sort of experimental. They seem to make decisions like very quickly and go like, let's just try this out, and then they'll just kill it if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It strikes me that this is one of those things. I think we don't see it very often with hardware, so it's really confusing.
It's like Buzz.
I think people go like, oh, why are they all in on this? I'm not sure that they are. It seems like they're experimenting with it on like every level possible. They're saying it's hackable. They're making it in an experimental way. They're making it in the U.S., which is not done.
They gave it to developers. I mean, the U.S. thing is really interesting.
Right.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Hang on, it's the Nokia N900 of set-top boxes.
But it's not a set-top box.
Well, okay.
It would be a set-top box if somebody put Boxy on it.
Yeah,
and
well,
it
that's
is basically
the
like
most
the Boxy
important
box.
thing on this product is this port I'm pointing to right here, which is the micro USB. They said in the keynote, "We hope you guys hack on this thing."
Yeah.
And we already have got games running on it apparently.
And that's
So
really,
like
we personally do.
This is for like crazy. I don't. But
So
we're gonna see crazy hack stuff on this, and that'll be fun.
Qualcomm and other companies have shown off basically like Android on a stick that you plug into your HDMI port, and it's like it's a full Android system that's fast enough to run 3D gaming that just plugs into your HDMI. Like, I wish this were more like that. I wish this had some like. I mean, it's just disappointing.
If they did that, it would stomp all over Google TV. Though.
I would really like. Here's the problem. I would really like some form of whatever AirPlay is for my Google stuff, like or some compatibility with AirPlay or something. I mean, there's DLNA. They're not really using it at all. I mean, how can I get music off of my phone when I have people over, when we're having a party or whatever? How can I get music off of my Galaxy Nexus onto my stereo? What are my options right now? To dock it? To use Bluetooth,
DLNA.
like DLNA if the stereo has Wi-Fi
it.
and it has DLNA, which mine doesn't. So right now when I want to listen to music at home, I get my iPad out, I open up Rdio, I turn on AirPlay, my Apple TV is hooked up to my stereo, I turn on my stereo, and I can play whatever I want. It's awesome. It's a really awesome idea. If I want to switch to Spotify, no problem. If I want to switch to my iTunes library, no problem.
If you use the playlist queue for the Nexus queue, does everybody need to have their stuff that they want to play on Google Play that they've uploaded to there and bought it? So everybody needs it.
Yes. It's all Google Play based.
And actually, we need to talk about this playlist queue because it is a mess.
It's a mess. I don't know how. I don't understand how it works.
When you tap a song, it adds the entire. When you tap a song, it adds the entire album or the entire playlist that you tapped on. The only way to add a single song is to do like the little right click on the right hand side to add your single song.
Their interface is completely nuts. It's bonkers. Like I was playing. We were playing with it today, and it was like I was playing a song, and you have to hit the cue thing to get it to play to the queue, and then like sometimes when you adjust the volume it disconnects from the queue but continues to play the song on the queue because it's not streaming again, it's independent. And then like I would go to play another song and it would start playing on my phone or on the tablet, and it's like they were both playing at the same time, and like you can tap the little thing that shows you that it's playing at the bottom of the app, and that like switches between what's playing on the queue and what's playing on your device, and it makes like no sense. When I was Ross and I were testing the social stuff, because that's another thing that they talked about, is that it's a social streamer that everybody can join the party and get in and play their stuff, and it's like it's insane. Here's what happens. First off, you can switch whenever you want. There are no controls. Like you don't have like I'm the owner override. Like I have to approve a selection.
I think there is.
So you're saying this is good or bad?
I'm saying it's horrible.
Well, but
wait. You
I think there is. I think you
what?
can turn it into like private mode, like I'm the DJ. I remember that.
Yeah,
is that right? Is there a way to do that?
No. It's either just you or everybody can do everything.
Okay,
Those
right.
are the two
That was our experience. So like it's like, I mean, Sam Sheffer and I were testing it out, and he'd put on a song, and then I'd be like, screw this, and then I'd put on a song, and then he'd be like, screw this, and it's like that's what's going.
It kind of sounds like a horrible idea.
Imagine this: you throw a party, and you've got a playlist, and you're running your queue. Your friend comes over.
Joshua Ryan's party mix.
That's right, JR party mix, volume 7, the X Factor.
Summer Heat.
That's the subtitle. Oh, Summer Heat.
Yeah.
That Summer Heat is volume 8.
Guys.
The X Factor is volume 7. Anyhow, the point is you're listening to JR's Sweet Mix that you've programmed painstakingly, and your friend comes over with his Galaxy Nexus. Presumably you're in Mountain View, and he starts playing, Hall & Oates. Not the good stuff either. the back stuff off the back wall.
And it's not like on turntable where you can just thumbs it down.
You can't
and go to the
gotta
next
go to
one.
another side. You gotta you gotta wrench it back from the. It's very half baked. The Q is very half baked. But what I will say is, it is audacious. It is bizarre. It is beautiful in a certain kind of way. Like, I think design-wise, it's really interesting. It has things that I never would have assumed or thought would be in a product like this, like the fact that it's an amp and it takes banana plugs for speakers in the back of it. It's got this weird, like, audiophile, like, quality to it that I think is really interesting. And I think most importantly, it's made, they say it's made in the USA. It's manufactured.
They don't say it. I mean, it is.
Well, they say it is. We don't know what's inside exactly right now. But it's assembled in the USA and shipped from presumably from a factory somewhere in Mountain View.
Yes.
And this is...
And if that's true, then it sort of follows that whatever parts they could get in the United States, they probably did.
I would imagine they're sourcing as much as possible, but I don't know.
But it's not possible to get all of the parts here currently. So.
What I will say is this. I want to be able to pay $300 for this, except I don't know what I would use it for. Like, I don't know where, like, but I think it's really cool and really interesting. And it may not be, I don't think we can completely rule out the possibility that Google wanted to do this just to mess with Apple a little bit. Because
that was one of the points I made. I mean, I think there's been a big point made, and Apple's taken a lot of heat because they're sort of the most visible company, and they're very outspoken about being environmentally safe and blah, 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 blah. And I think that when the stuff with Foxconn started happening, they were blindsided a bit because they're not used to being criticized that way. And they've responded, and it's sort of escalated for a really long time until very recently, just a month ago, you know, at the All Things D conference, you know, Kara Swisher, like, sort of bluntly asked Tim Cook, like, will you manufacture in the U.S. again? And he said, I hope so someday. And at that point, Google must have already been manufacturing these.
They must have been way into the process. You can't turn this around overnight. I think that there's
been some sense that someone was going to do it, and maybe they wanted to get there first.
I think here's the question. Like, I have to say, what they put in this box, this amp, you know, the banana plugs, making this spherical thing that rotates. They have lights on it. It's got like a touch portion on the top. That's all like really elaborate technology. I think if you took out a bunch of that stuff and made it into a streamer box, they could probably sell it for $100 or $150.
What else?
In my opinion, like based on what I'm seeing. So I wonder, like, if they could do that, and I don't know the economics of this, and I don't pretend to know, but if they can do that, could they make an Apple TV like streaming box that does similar stuff? I mean, they have essentially the guts of it there. Take away the mechanics, take away the amp, take away like the stuff that makes it like kind of a weird audiophile device. Does it suddenly become much more affordable? And if so, can that be made in America for a price that you'd want to pay? And what does that mean about like what Apple is how Apple will react or what Apple's going to do?
I feel like this is just a first step. I mean, Laura wrote about the fact that they chose this to be an American-made product. You know, we don't know how long they were working on it, but maybe this is a precedent that they want to be setting.
Well, they showed, what was it called, the tungsten last year at I/O, which was some early kind of concept of this, right, Dieter?
Yeah, they showed the tungsten. In fact, if you go deep into on the controller app for the Q, there's still a reference to Project Tungsten in there.
Oh, interesting. But what were you saying, Alice?
Oh, I was just saying that it's interesting that they chose this to be their first thing, and it's like, well, maybe in some time we will, like now that the Motorola deal has to some extent gone through, we'll start to see them being like, hey, we want to make this a priority. We have the money to be able to do this. I just feel like maybe they should be subsidizing it a little more in some way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really expensive.
It's very expensive, but it's also, like, there's nothing there to justify the expense. That's the problem. I mean, to an average consumer, I mean.
I think that's it. I think we know.
But, you know, well, the first iPod was very expensive and didn't make sense to the average consumer.
I mean, you know, I agree with Alice. I don't think that this is some throwaway. I think that they're going to try in earnest to do this. I mean, in the New York Times article, which is where like the first point about it being made in the USA, they didn't talk about it on stage at I/O.
They could really set themselves apart.
Right. And they said that, you know, they hoped that as they sold more of them, that the price would come down. So
right.
So that indicates that there is some sense that this product is going to scale to the point where the price would come down, which means that there must be some commitment to it. I don't think that they're just
right. I mean,
going to make 1,000 of them and say, well, that didn't work, back to China.
Right. What I will say is,
I mean, this is their first self-built hardware.
Yeah. I mean, what I will say is it definitely elicited a feeling when I learned that it was made in America. It elicited a very interesting feeling for me, which was, I don't know, like it was almost like I mean, this is going to sound really cheesy, but it was almost like a kind of feeling of hope. Of like,
sure,
like in all honesty, and I mean, I'm not trying to sound dramatic, but when you guys, because during the presentation, I don't know if they said it was made in America, did they?
They did not.
Okay, and
no,
then
they did very, very briefly show a made in the USA bit when they were showing the blown up parts.
Yeah, but it wasn't like really called out on stage. But then the New York Times and Wired had some exclusive articles that they
and it was about the manufacturing.
And
it's clear that they wanted to talk about it without
yeah.
actually saying it themselves.
And look, I think we've talked about this a lot on the show, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but you know, American manufacturing is not what it used to be. And in particular, you see this explosive growth in electronics and in technology, and you don't see any of it or hardly any of it coming from America. And I was like, this is kind of awesome. Like, this is kind of amazing. Like, if they can do this, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a little bit more expensive than a bunch of other stuff, and it turns out to not be that great of a product, but not because it's built badly. It's built very well from what I can tell.
I actually think it's kind of smart. I mean, if it was a phone, there would be almost no, it's hard to quantify what this product is actually worth.
Yeah, I don't know if they could have done a phone. That's what I wonder.
They probably can't. I mean, they probably can't do a phone in the U.S., but if 5 years down the road they can, the price difference is going to be massive.
Did it just get... Sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
Did it just get like ridiculously hotter in here? Like there's like now heat being pumped into the room. I'm like not even
We just started
kidding.
talking about economics.
I'm not even kidding.
That's what
like,
happened.
It feels like now heat is being pushed into the room. Is that what's going on? Oh, that's cool. That's sick. I mean, we're not doing more than an hour today because it's way too hot in here to.
So let's get into Jelly Bean.
Let's talk something.
Yeah,
let's talk about something.
Yeah,
Here,
we gotta talk Jelly Bean.
Yeah. Okay, Jelly Bean. Yeah, it's great. I think it's great. Huge improvements.
It's awesome.
In my opinion, huge improvements across the board for Android. I mean, Android 4 was already very good. In my opinion, it was as good as any of the other mobile operating systems, and in some ways, and I said this in my review, in some ways better than even iOS. And now I am at this point, having seen iOS 6, what we've seen of it, and having seen Jelly Bean and used it. I mean, I for my money, that is my operating system of choice, and I think it offers as much and more than what Apple is doing in the mobile space. And like, they introduced some things I did not expect. Google Now, which is part of Jelly Bean, but is also, as Matias Duarte said, a platform for Google. He said that they were working we talked about this in the interview, that multiple groups across multiple parts of Google are working on Google Now. Google Now is like, I think a lot of people have said, like, it's just like Siri. And we did some stuff where it's like, Dieter, you did some stuff where it's like Siri versus Google Now. And it does some of that stuff, and I think actually does a lot of it really well. But it does some crazy stuff, which I got my really first taste of when I landed this morning off of my red eye. And this is what it did. So yesterday, it thought that the hotel that I was staying at was where I lived because I just started using it, and I was
kind of cute.
Yeah, and I was there a lot, and I kept leaving for short periods of time and coming back. So I think it kind of logicked out that that's your home, and it was like, "Is this your home?" And I'm like, "No, that's not where I live." And I told it my address. That was the end of that encounter with Now. So during the day, I was checking for, and I was also testing as well as like reviewing. I was also just kind of doing it for myself. I kept looking up this flight that I was taking back on Verge in America, and to see if it had been delayed, because they were saying things like they weren't really clear. Like it would tell you if there's delays to a train if you're waiting for the train, and I kind of made the assumption, and this was not correct, that it would tell you if you search for a flight, if that flight gets delayed or the gate changes, it would give you an alert. Which, by the way, Google, please make it do that. But it doesn't do that. But what it does do is it remembers you search for it, and as you get close to the flight, it brings up the card again. And it's like, the flight is taking off at this time. It tells you if the time has changed or whatever. But anyhow, when I landed, as soon as I got my phone on, like 2 minutes after I got my phone on, it did two things. Well, three things. It showed me the weather in New York. Automatically. Did not prompt.
You opened it. You're looking
I
at the
turned on my
screen.
phone. I slid down the notification window, and there was a Google Now, and
Card.
it said there was a Google Now prompt, and it was either the weather or it was directions. And what it did was it showed my flight had landed. It showed the card for the flight, and it says it's landed, which I knew because I was standing there on it. The weather in New York, and it said the drive home. Your drive home will be 33 minutes, and it showed a map with directions to get home.
It said no way you're making it to the Vergecast on time.
And,
That's what it said.
no, but one of my biggest things is like the reason I don't take carry-ons if at all possible, like especially on a red eye, because when you get home in New York, if you get home at 5:30 in the morning, if you get out quick enough, you can get into a car, and I get back to Brooklyn.
Wait, you just said the opposite. You said you don't take carry-ons.
You don't check, you're saying.
You don't check your baggage.
I'm sorry, I don't check my baggage. That's what I meant. It's, by the way, I had 4 hours of sleep, and I did not sleep on this
And
plane.
it's 115 degrees.
And it is
in
like
here.
so hot here. It feels like some kind of weird torture that's happening. It's like I'll tell you where the bomb is. Okay, just please put the air conditioning on.
Well, that's the next talk show is the Verge Turkish bath. You know, it's kind of a little calmer.
Yeah. So it automatically said, here's how long it's going to take you to get home. And that's awesome. Because if there had been a huge traffic jam on 495, it would have told me. And I would have been like, oh, I'm going to take the train. I'm not going to, like, when we went for Nilai's wedding, we got out off the plane and we were like, let's hop in a car to get from the airport to the hotel. And there was crazy traffic. It was like an hour wait in traffic.
And it was also about 100
And
degrees.
in this case, it was
the worst experience.
But in this case, it would have said it's going to take you an hour, and we could have looked at other options. Like it blew my mind. I did not ask for it to do it. I did not expect it to do it. It just did it.
I'll tell you what.
And I needed it.
That's what I want from a personal assistant.
That's what you want.
As it's built.
That's
This
what
is
you
the
want
thing.
from a personal
A lot
assistant.
of people are comparing this to Siri, which is marketed as and essentially is a personal assistant,
Yeah.
which a personal assistant sort of by definition gives you help when you ask for it. This is like not doing that.
Actually, a personal assistant by definition, a good personal assistant is supposed to anticipate what you're going to do and take action before
Cue
you
Michael
ask.
Shane.
Yeah. So that's what's so interesting about this, because it actually did that. Now it isn't perfect. It's far from perfect.
Yeah, I need to talk about it not being perfect.
It's not perfect
because I'm having a different experience with it than you are. It finally learned where I live this morning.
You can
finally
tell it where
figured
you
out.
live.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
cannot. No,
yes, you
can't.
can.
When it pops up a card and
there's
asks you,
there's a setting.
dude, I could not show me where the setting is.
When it pops up the card and says like your X from home, there's a thing to say this is not right, like set my home location.
Right, but until that card pops up, you can't do it.
I don't know because I got the
because-
card and I just did it because I'm smart, so I don't know what to tell you.
No. So the idea behind Google Now is really interesting because we've been hearing literally since they put GPS in phones that there's going to be a magical future where the phone knows who you are and it knows where you are and it knows everything about you, and so it can give you this information.
Geofences.
And nobody's really tried to do it all that comprehensively before, and Google finally is. So that's really interesting.
Right.
I'm remembering Roger McNamee when he was on the stage showing off the pre, being like, "Wow, it's gonna know everything you're going.
That's right.
It's gonna auto email people.
That's right.
That you're not there yet."
But it did
But
something.
the thing is, you don't configure it. The way that you get your cards to pop up is Google just watches you and guesses.
Well,
and so you search for a sports team, and then it's like, oh well, you must like that sports team, or you happen to be in the same place every night and it guesses that's where you live, and that's great, and I think it's really interesting, and I want it to work that way. But the way that it's guessing and what it thinks matters to me, when it's wrong, it's a little bit frustrating. So my example is I searched for a flight just to test it. And for the next 2 days, I was getting this flight information popping up, and I just don't care. And so I would have to swipe it away.
You can change that. You can change that setting. You can change it so it doesn't show those notifications.
You can change it so it doesn't show those notifications globally, but I can't say, hey, Google Now, I don't care about American Airlines 1921
Right.
at all.
No.
It's not subtle.
No, it actually is subtle. It is subtle, but what it isn't is that smart at this point because it doesn't understand.
It's making assumptions based on behavior.
But here's the thing, and this, by the way, is the problem with reviewing a product in a couple of days, which I really dislike doing greatly. And Google kind of created a situation here, and the world of our press world has created a situation where there is an incredible demand from readers to find out about this stuff right away, and people will just jump the gun and review it, and you've got to be part of the business to review it. And that's why this thing Google now is not a 1 or 2 day or a 5 day or even
it's a week,
or even or no, I don't even think it's
easily.
a week. I think this thing needs to watch to see over time. I think this thing is it's like any person. If you ask them to identify things that you do or places you may go or questions you may ask or stuff you may need, they're not going to know from hanging out with you for 2 days or a week. It's going to take them a while to get to know. And I think that Google now is going to look for patterns, and I think that in those patterns, over a long enough period of time, and I'm really curious to come back to this after a month or 2 months of using it and to see, but if it did what it did for me in the span of 2 days, and if it gets smarter by watching patterns, I'm extremely curious to know what it'll be able to do, or at least what it thinks I'll want in a month from now. Because it's going to know where I live, it's going to know where I work, it's going to know how I get home every day, it's going to know the restaurants I like to go to, it's going to know the bars I like to go to, and it's like, when it starts getting that information, it's going to know who I call the most often, right? Because you can search for contacts in there as well, I think. I hope it's pulling in some of that information. I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this. But I agree with you. It is far from baked, But Siri's far from baked too.
Will it do that in a month, or is this have we actually gotten a pretty good idea of what it can and can't do within a few days?
Well,
if it's way better in a month, I'll be super excited.
Also,
if it's the exact same as it is,
was Google going to be updating it incrementally
Google is
in the
definitely,
back end?
Google's definitely working on this as an ongoing project. And one thing you can say about Google, they do not wait. They iterate. So I guarantee you within the next couple of months, this will be iterated on a number of times. I guarantee you that it will produce better information. I assume. I can't guarantee. But I assume this will produce better, more useful information in the next couple of months, because I don't think Google's going to sit around in the way that they tweak their algorithm and the way that they tweak, Gmail gets a new feature like, hey, we're adding this today. It's not like they completely revamp the product. They just start adding little things. Remember what Gmail looked like last year? Go back 1 year from right now and look at Gmail. I'm pretty sure it's a completely different beast.
And they constantly tinkered with it too. Originally there was so much white space.
And they would graduate
really.
Lab stuff. Think about how much they've graduated some of the lab stuff to actual features. Look at the maps. When Maps gets updated for Android, it's like, oh, we've turned the plus and minus signs. They got rid of them to zoom in and out on maps, and then they added them as a labs feature, so you could add them back in if you wanted them. And then they were like, hey, we've just added them as a feature now. Which I think is happened in the span of 2 or 3 months or something. So I think that they'll iterate on this. I have to say, it's far from perfect. It misunderstands you just the way Siri can sometimes. It gives you information that you didn't really ask for. It cannot find showtimes for Prometheus, no matter what you do. It's like Prometheus. It's like it doesn't understand what you're saying at all when you say Prometheus. It got Prometheus but misspelled it, which I don't even know how that happened. It was a word that was Prometheus, but it wasn't Prometheus. It's funny when you start using
Siri and things like this, you realize how many out of the ordinary words you're really saying.
Yeah.
When you start using this.
It's crazy. So it's not perfect, but it is. I think it's actually a really exciting technology that feels very different than what Siri intends to do or means to do.
To go back to Jelly Bean, though, I think one of the other things I saw that I really showed Google's kind of flexibility to work with updating whether it's APIs or the different cards that are going to be popping in is even the little thing in the notification center. The way that they kind of modally added, from a notification, or not notification center, from the notification drop down, you can like something, you can, interact with something from the notification bar. And I think that really shows that they want to integrate a lot of different data sources and how you can interact with them.
My computer's dying, so I'm going to want to try to wrap up quickly. I want to go over a couple of other Google things really quickly. What were the big things? Project Glass, we haven't touched on at all. Project Glass. So if you guys didn't see it, they had an elaborate intro for Project Glass, which, by the way, interrupted. So what happened at the event was Vic Gandotra was out talking about. We didn't even talk about Google Plus. How much can we talk about, really? But Google Plus added this thing called Events, Google Plus Events, which is basically color.
I can sum it up in a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's essentially what they want to do is they want to let you take pictures on your phone. And as you take pictures on your phone, it populates a feed of photos for people at a party.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a horrible idea.
Or as Vic Gandotra said, or as Vic Gandotra confirmed to me when we did our interview, and you can watch it, it's on the internet, it could be for two people during lovemaking as well.
It's pictures of you from every angle
He
at
said,
your
as
own
long as you
birthday
share,
party.
he said, as long as you share to the right people. And I said, only 2 people, right? And he was like, well, you know.
Well, I mean,
What are those?
it's hard for me to have any perspective on it. I'm the least photogenic person ever.
I disagree.
My eyes are always closed.
Well, I will say
my mouth
this.
is always hanging open.
I will say this. You do have a knack for making a face every time a camera is on you. Like,
Am I doing it now?
no, you look like a normal human.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
you were just doing something. You look basically like a normal human
If
being.
you slow the video down frame to frame.
If you slow it
if
down
you-
frame to frame, I would
every,
look like I'm
every shot.
high.
It's true. But every time there's a photo taken of her, it's very difficult. But then there are many very beautiful photos of you. So I think that you're not completely a failure
on.
at getting your picture taken. Are you blushing? Am I embarrassing you?
Just move on.
I can't embarrass
please.
you. She's a
Well,
very,
what about
She's a very
glass?
sexy woman, everyone. I want you to know
my
that.
God.
Very sexy lady. And we enjoy each other's
Okay, I'm
company.
leaving.
We enjoy each other's company immensely.
Okay.
and I'm right in the middle of it.
Now, Ellis is actually blushing.
I got rosy
So
cheeks.
Sergey ran out on stage, and a long story short, he had a bunch of skydivers wearing Project Glass.
Now, did you talk to him?
I did. Who jumped out of a plane. By the way, he seems pretty cool.
He seems like the coolest guy in the world. That's
Well, I'll
what I
tell
was
you-
waiting
Was he
to say. I've
high?
been
I'll tell
dying.
That's what we all
I've
want
been
to
dying
know.
to
Does he
talk
smoke
about
weed?
this.
I said, was he high
Is
when
he a
you
big?
talked
Is
to
he a
him?
big weed smoker?
I don't know. Did you see that gift that was getting passed around?
No.
earlier?
Okay, hold on a second.
So the thing about him being cool is I think he was wearing the toe shoes.
Oh, that is kind
He
of
always
a,
wears the toe shoes. I think he was
That's-
actually wearing Crocs yesterday.
Oh, is he wearing Crocs?
He likes,
Crocs.
the guy likes to have a foot comfort. And by the way, Laura is a big fan of foot comfort as well. So she's like
Not that
one
level, not
She's
that
one
level.
toke away from Crocs. Okay, but I mean, she used to have a pair of shoes I refer to as bread shoes because they look like loaves of bread. We're so huge.
I don't like wearing high heels
She hates
or
heels.
sandals.
Does not like sandals. Hey, you like sandals? Oh, you like flip flops.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyhow, enough about Laura's shoe fashions. So these people, they skydived, skydove,
I think it's dove.
skydove.
Skydave,
I think
I
it's
think.
skydave. They skydived out of
I'm
the
an English
plane,
major, man.
wearing
Skydive.
Project Glass. They landed on the roof of the Moscone Center. Then some people got on bikes.
They high-fived guys.
They
got on
high-fived guys.
bikes.
Those guys got on bikes. They took the bikes off jumps. Then they high-fived a guy who rappelled down the side of Moscone Center. And then he went smashing through the side. He didn't go smash. He opened the door. And then somebody else got on a bike, and they rode the bike
aggressively.
into the auditorium and jumped it up on stage to give Sergey a pair of
ultimate
a
high
pair
five.
of the ultimate high five and a pair of Project glasses, which he was already wearing. So I don't know what the whole point was. The point was to thrill us.
What was it like to wear his Google glasses?
Well, hold
by
on.
the
I'm
way?
gonna
That's
get to
what I
that.
need to know.
I'm gonna
Okay.
get
Yeah.
to that.
But
it
they
was,
did that. They did that twice.
Yeah, they
2 days
did.
in a row.
Well, but it was BOGO. Buy one, get one free. So they're like, you buy one ridiculous base jumping stunt, you get the second one for free. And Sergey, how could he pass
They
up
had the
that deal?
blimp for 2 days. You know what
Yeah,
you can do?
exactly. Blimp rental. They may force you to rent it for 2 days, the blimp, so you got to put it to use. So then afterwards, there was a press meeting with Sergey and some of the members of the team of Project Glass, and they spoke very candidly about it. And I actually have some thoughts about it, and I'm going to write something probably early next week. I'll have just a kind of piece on what Glass is and what I make of it. This week was a little hectic. But at the end of it, Sergey was like, why don't we, how about you guys come up here and you just try it on? There were like 25 or 30 journalists in the room. He's like, why don't we have you guys? He's like, I didn't plan this, and the PR guys are going to freak out, but why don't you, we have 4 people up here with Glass on. Why don't you come up here and you can try it out and see what it's like to wear? Just impromptu.
And check out this demo we set up on it.
No, because they hadn't even set up the demo yet. He was like, okay. He's like, oh, my battery's dying. And then like, can we get some more in here? And there was like this period of like 10 minutes where they were like charging the ones they were wearing and they were like setting them to demo mode. So Sergey was letting people put his glasses on. And I went up there. A bunch of people went. Nick Bilton from The Times and Peter Ha was there from TechCrunch and all kinds of people. And we all went up. And Sergey placed the glasses on us. I got him to take photos of me because I didn't have anybody else to help. And
I thought he insisted.
He kind of did, actually. He kind of was like, here, I'll take the photos. I was like trying to do this.
That's
and
what I read on
I think
the
he was
internet.
embarrassed for me that I was doing one of these. I was like, this is for my MySpace. Okay, fine. You don't get my MySpace.
Oh, I
anymore.
liked it.
I was like, let me take off my shirt and get in my mirror. Okay. This joke's going nowhere fast. Creighton likes it. He knows what I'm talking about.
What was it like to wear the glasses?
There was like, here's what it was like. There was a floating screen in the upper right corner of my vision showing a semi-translucent fireworks display. It was just running on a demo of a video. So it produces sound, but you have to kind of cup your hand over the stem to hear the sound clearly. And I have some more information on it. I don't want to I'll talk about all of it right now about how it's operated, but I'm going to share some of that information in the near future. It's going to blow your mind apart. And you're going to have to put it back together using a special program that runs only on Project Glass that shows you how to put your brain together.
ElmersGlue.app.
And you didn't order any, right?
I can't speak. I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of an order of Project Glass. But let's just say that if you see a sweet-ass looking Borg that reminds you a little bit of Josh Topolsky coming towards you on the street, in about 6 months, you'll know what's happening. And I think that's the Vergecast. Oh, we got to talk about one more thing.
What about RIM?
We got to talk about RIM.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much there is to say.
RIM is not doing well. There's not a lot to say. They've postponed BlackBerry 10 to 2013. 2013
Correct.
to some people. And they are firing 5,000 workers.
How many workers do they have?
5,000.
So that's about 35%.
Is it really?
It's 35.
35%.
Well,
Wow.
it's 35. I believe it's 35% given the 5,000 they announced yesterday and
Yeah.
the 3,500 they had.
And-
It's 35% of their workforce.
And the big
done.
deal is that I believe Reuters published a story, or Bloomberg, and they said that it was Reuters, that they are contemplating either producing Windows Phone devices or selling to Microsoft. What was the?
So the rumor was that Microsoft approached a while ago and said, "Hey guys, you're in trouble. Here's Windows Phone. Let's do it up." And Torsten and the board were like, "No, man, we believe in BlackBerry 10. Let's do it." And then on top of that, there was Jim Silly wanted to get big into offering the BlackBerry Enterprise backend stuff to other smartphones, BlackBerry Messenger, secure email, yada yada yada. And the board was like, no, we want to sell our own phones. We want to do it. But now this quarter was so bad, and they're in such a world of hurt. All those previous rumors are coming back, and they might need to spin off the hardware or spin off the software or partner with Microsoft or do something. They're going to try and put BlackBerry 10 out. That's going to happen.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean,
you think it's going to be like Nokia? This is going to be a Nokia. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to delay it. They're going to continue talks with Microsoft. They're going to strike a deal with Microsoft. They're going to release a single BlackBerry 10 device that's like the unicorn. Like, we had to do it. We completed our mission. It's like it's the N9. And
I mean, what does it say
then
about
they'll do
your
Windows
company
Phone.
if it's so? I mean, how large is Dieter probably knows? I mean, how large is their software development team to begin with? What does it say about your company if it's in such dire straits that you have to push something back that far?
You know what?
I mean, to me,
I'm sorry.
I feel like this is not going to happen.
I don't want to be negative, and RIM has made some really wonderful products in the past, but I do not see any possible way of them reclaiming success with a brand new operating system with brand new devices in the current state of the market. I simply do not understand how RIM can mount a comeback of any substance, of any size that matters at this stage in the game. If they're pushing to 2013, this is not. I don't think we're in the last quarter of this game, but we are definitely about at halftime, and you're getting a pretty good sense. I mean, the game could go, but you know who the teams are.
I
Let me
think
put it that
RIM
way.
needs to.
This metaphor doesn't work at all. The game is being played with a ball. Go ahead.
The thing that made BlackBerry successful, and the thing that has kept it hanging on up until recently, was people had a visceral, desperate need for some of the features on BlackBerry. Either they had to do it for work, or they were obsessed with BlackBerry Messenger because it was free or cheaper than text messages.
Yeah.
Those needs aren't as powerful and visceral anymore, and there's nothing that I've seen in BlackBerry 10 that looks like it's going to create that kind of desperate need at all.
They said their first device was going to be a non-keyboard device, and the one thing that I actually hear from
they hedged on that. They hedged on that today. They're going to do both around the same time.
The one thing that I actually ever hear from anybody who I see using a BlackBerry, literally the only argument I've ever heard in the last 6 months from anybody who I see with a BlackBerry device is, I can't use a virtual keyboard. I love this keyboard. It's all about the keyboard. It's all about the physical keyboard.
Yes, the last phone that I used that was not an iPhone was a BlackBerry
The Bold. Yeah, the original Bold.
Which I loved and used exclusively for the keyboard.
The keyboard is amazing. And by the way, I think there is room for keyboard devices in the world. I would love... I mean, Matthias Duarte talked to Joanna Stern from ABC News, our good friend, and he said... She asked him about BlackBerries. By the way, she's sporting a Bold and a Galaxy Nexus right now. She's living the dream. She asked him, and he was like, we'd love to have a BlackBerry making Android devices.
I think from a business standpoint, they need to either get out that way or sell. I mean, their stock, like I'm looking at this right now.
I'm sorry, but if RIM made a really beautiful keyboarded and high-end Android device running like straight up stock, like don't give me like add BBM and whatever other customizations you think are cool, but like make it basically like that.
Kind of what you said about the 900.
That would be a formidable device.
You'd want that Android phone.
Yeah. That would be a formidable device.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go into the weeds here because I know we're done, but I'm sure Dieter knows more about this than me, but I just feel like we're talking about a situation, we're like, this is like pie in the sky stuff. I just don't think there's room for them anymore.
Well, no, I disagree. I mean, there's room for them to play to their strengths. Here's what their strengths are not. Software. They're not good at it. They were good at it 10 years ago when no other smartphone platforms existed, really, and they had advantages on particularly not in user interface, but in back-end services, in email services, in security services.
And deploying that.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of enterprise
Where they
workers.
don't have strength and where they've never had strength is user interface design and execution on user interface designs. And
I mean, isn't their biggest strength their hardware?
No, it's the services.
Their biggest strength has been, up until the last couple of years, their email service, their BBM service, and their enterprise service that they can deploy for companies, and the way they deploy it and the security offerings that they have for those companies.
Right, but that truly has been years.
And relatively, they
It's been
peaked
years.
hardware-wise.
Right.
The curve.
Yes.
No.
Relatively versus the competition.
I mean, in terms of market share,
Yeah.
the curve was massively when Verizon was giving away curves, 2007 maybe 2008, 2007 I think, massively popular phone. And a lot of people had them, but I mean, that's living in the past. That is a different world that we live in.
Everyone caught up to them.
Everyone caught up and surpassed
And lapped.
Or died.
And
like Palm.
Or Nokia. I mean, right. Nokia's not making Nokia phones. Nokia's making Nokia hardware with Windows Phone on it. So to me, my take is the only. I think it's you got to pick a team at this point for them. I don't think they can. They may do a 10 device. Dieter, I think you're right. But I feel like they're looking at Android. They're going to either sell. They're going to sell off. They're going to break it apart and maybe just be enterprise backbone in some way.
Yeah.
Or they're looking at a partnership.
I got to say, Windows Phone makes much more sense to RIM than Android.
I agree. They already have partnerships. They've got a Bing partnership.
Yeah, and they need to fully secure all the way up to it's like the president can carry one, and they need to let governments snoop in on their servers, from Dubai or whatever. And that kind of like serious enterprise class stuff and management is, Android has some of it, but it's going to be nowhere near as robust as Windows Phone 8.
Right. And
that's the other thing is BlackBerry 10 versus Windows Phone 8 for an IT manager at some giant corporation. I don't know that they would take a chance on BlackBerry 10 at this point. If
really?
When their 2 years comes up and they're going to switch to a new platform. Windows Phone beats up on that.
Well, Windows Phone is vastly superior to any software product that RIM has put out ever. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Even iOS has come such a long way. People want it so bad.
But that's the thing. Apple is aggressively pursuing this market, and they're offering a lot. They want to own that market, and they're offering a lot. And their customers are like, everybody wants an iPhone. And they're like, well, we're going to make an iPhone.
There's
work
companies
for you.
built on creating secure apps solutions for iPhone.
Right.
For enterprise
Also, think
people.
about what you can do from an enterprise standpoint with something like an iPhone versus a BlackBerry right now. They're worlds apart.
You can drag and drop.
I think that says it all.
Also, as we've seen with many things, the best thing doesn't always win. So it doesn't always matter that, that's the thing about RIM that I think has become less true, but is still true to some extent, that is that huge corporations use them and insist that their employees use them. You said Joanna has one. I assume it's because of CBS.
ABC.
ABC, wherever.
It's definitely
You know,
ABC. I know for a fact.
But the point is that, you know, that continues to millions and millions of people continue to use them because they have this idea that it's the best thing, but that could go away very quickly, and it won't really make any difference.
They're already
been changed, right?
I mean, we keep writing these stories about how, you know, so and so decided they're not going to deploy BlackBerries anymore. They're going to switch into iPhone.
Well, the government, a lot of them.
Yeah. I just think they are in a very hard place, and the only reason that they're there is because they failed to adapt. They failed to adapt quickly. I mean, they have no one to blame but themselves. It was not like they were just beat. Okay, like the iPhone didn't come out and everybody was like, forget this BlackBerry. I'm going to go get an iPhone right this second. The iPhone came out. It was a huge success. It has been a success. Android was not a success at first and has become a success. But there was a huge chance at the beginning for RIM to offer something that was as innovative and as fascinating and as exciting and as wonderful as either of those platforms.
And they gave us the storm.
And at every turn, they half-stepped, they lagged, they were stubborn. I mean, in my opinion, and you need only listen to Lazaridis at the Dive Into Mobile right after the Torch came out at Dive Into Mobile, and Lance Ulanoff got up and said, you know, he was talking crazy talk about how we can't make the right kind of phone until there are dual-core CPUs in phones, and you can have the playbook, and it's just like stuff that made no sense at all. It's like so out of touch. But you hear him respond to like, Lance says like, why is this Torch is terrible? It's slow and laggy. Like, is this what you think is a good phone? And he was like, yeah. I mean, I think that's very speedy. But then he was like, also like, well, we can't make a good phone until we get a dual-core CPU. Meanwhile, everybody and their mother was working on dual-core devices. You know,
yeah.
I feel like in some way Microsoft. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The other thing about RIM is like when the iPhone came out, everybody else went whoa, and they tried to reset.
Not everybody.
Nokia didn't execute on it, but Palm eventually did.
Microsoft did. Microsoft didn't.
Android did. Google did with Android. Android is totally different.
Google saw it. Microsoft didn't. Nokia didn't, and RIM didn't, and they're all in a really tough position right now. I mean, none of those guys saw it. I mean, Ballmer laughed it off. You know, they were working on the Kin. They were working on projects like the Kin. They released Windows Mobile 6.5. Remember that disaster with the hexagonal icons grid?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a total bust. I mean, you know, they were still pushing resistive screens in 2008 and 2009 even, I think. When was Windows Phone actually introduced?
2010.
Yeah.
It was February of 2010.
I mean, and you look at Nokia. Nokia was pushing Symbian garbage phones. I remember some of the phones that we looked at where they were like, we're doing an all touchscreen phone, but it's resistive. And I remember I talked to a Nokia designer, and he said it doesn't matter what the material of the screen is as long as the response is just as good. And it's like, but you can't get the response because resistive doesn't work that way. You know, and it's like they didn't get it. They fought, and now they're dying. It's like adapt or die. Adapt or die. That's my motto.
The one company Steve Jobs was really ended up being right about being 5 years or more behind, you know, ends up being this kind of situation. I mean, that was 2007.
I think you're very foolish. I'm surprised if you saw the iPhone, you didn't at least go, "This is something. This means something." If you didn't touch it, I mean, I remember I got an iPhone and returned it the next day because I couldn't deal with the keyboard. And then a couple months later, I was like looking at my Trio 650 at this tiny screen and moving a stylus around on it. I was really like, what could the iPhone do the Trio 650 can't do? And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Well, adapting is hard. It's hard for companies and it's hard for people.
But I went back to the store and I bought another iPhone and I remember we were sitting like in the car in the parking lot somewhere and I was changing the time on the clock. On the alarm clock, and I was just like, the touch response was insane, and it hit me. I was like, this is way different.
On a different level.
This is completely. Way different. Like there's a.
But you had to like learn a new skill.
Well, you had to at least open your mind to it.
Right.
You know, I was like, this is way different, for reasons that are much more subtle than like Apple made an aluminum back touchscreen phone. It's like they made something that felt different than anything that had come before it. And people who didn't recognize that and immediately start trying to adapt, Google did. Check it out. RIM did not. RIM did not.
Yeah.
They thought they had better ideas, and they didn't. I mean, they needed to riff, and they did not riff on that stuff.
But they didn't have any ideas. I mean, I think that's part of the problem, and I think that that's what you see now in some of like with the iPhone is that it's not changing very much.
Well,
and when people start they go, oh, we're so successful, we don't want to change too much.
Right.
I mean, that's
no, it is true
really
that like
dangerous.
if you look at iOS 6, what we've seen versus it just is slightly reminiscent. And by the way, like they've got a great product right now, and I understand why they don't want to mess with it too much.
I'm not suggesting they'll fail.
It is reminiscent of how slow Microsoft became at adapting
on a year-to-year basis.
when you see the evolution of Windows, when you see the evolution of a lot of the Windows Mobile is a great example. They just got into a rhythm of very slow,
just decelerated
very
the
slow,
kind of
very
innovation.
gradual innovation without any fire under you because you own it. You own the market. They had a huge market. Windows Mobile used to have a huge part of the smartphone market when the smartphone market was much smaller, and now.
I have an insane, naive hope that we haven't seen all of iOS 6. That there's still some UI innovation that hasn't popped up.
I was talking to Sam Sheffer, one of our resident. He's like a very hopeful. He's a very hopeful spirit about Apple, and why not? They've done amazing stuff, and I think there is. He was saying that he's holding out this hope that maybe there would be some like surprise, like we've added all this, and they very well might. They're going to have a new device around October. They're going to show a final version of iOS 6, not the beta version that developers are using right now. And I don't see why. I don't think we can rule out them having some surprises. In fact, you have to rule in that they will have surprises.
Knowing Forrestal, I think there are definitely going to be some surprises.
I don't think Apple's like they're not foolish. They see what's going on in the landscape. But right now, as it stands right now, like. I think that people are starting to wonder, like, is there more?
Considering
there
that
more
people have to buy, you pick one phone for a couple of years. For most people, if you're pitching somebody Android versus iPhone now, when you're looking at the software, like, do you think? I was wondering what you think about how fast Android's moving over the course of the year versus iOS. Like, where's that going to be in 2 years?
Well, they started from a good spot, and they innovated a lot early on. I mean, iOS, so. Their distance to go is a little less far. I mean, Android just with the last version, in my opinion, got to like design
parity,
and cohesiveness
and performance. Honestly, like this Jelly Bean on the Galaxy Nexus, like with Android 4.0 and especially with 2.3, like it only felt good when you had it on insanely beefy hardware and a super fast processor. You just would have to brute force to make it feel like it wasn't stuttery.
Yeah.
This Jelly Bean is the first one. I mean, the Galaxy Nexus is no slouch, but it feels remarkably better, and the performance and the speed of stuff, scrolling and whatnot is great.
It really took a device that was introduced in October of last year, and made it feels like a new phone.
What were the issues you had with scrolling? I read what you wrote, but I didn't quite understand it.
I have issues with scrolling on the tablet. They're very minor, but there's some. I can't believe we're getting into this weed area right now, but there's just some very minor. When you're flipping through the home screens very quickly or other screens, there can be a little bit of snapback where it almost senses too much of your finger movement and kind of thinks you want to go in the other direction.
But on the whole, you felt like it was like super snappy.
Oh, yeah. It's very pleasant to use. And it makes sense. And the new notifications are awesome. Like, the new notification stuff is awesome. There's so much to talk about. Read the review. And we'll have more on Jelly Bean. We got to wrap up. We have to wrap up. And by the way, I'm sorry we didn't take any calls today. We had so much to talk about.
I think I said we were going to.
And Laura said we were going to, and we lied. Let's take one call right now. Dial in. We're going to take one call. Who's going to be on? Dial in. The number is a number. It has digits in it. It's 888-418-4074. You get to be the only caller on the Vergecast today. You can talk to Laura. You can talk to Ellis. You can talk to Dieter.
I want to hear some RIM optimists here.
You don't have to be RIM optimist.
I don't think there are any.
It can be anything you want.
When was the last time you met someone who's like all in with a BlackBerry? So
all in for RIM.
I mean, I knew a few diehards, but they've all given up. No one.
No.
My good friend and former colleague Kevin Mitchelluk is still.
He's still going for it.
I know some. Well, he does run Crackberry, right? So you got to.
Yeah.
I know some people in LA and in DC who are like not in our industry, who are in like the entertainment and like more like politics. Those people are still hanging on.
Last name
Right,
rhymes
like-
with Schmanuel.
Last name. No, he has an iPhone. Ari has an iPhone, in case you're wondering. He probably
a
I think he
BlackBerry.
also has a black. I think he also has a BlackBerry.
Oh.
All right, here we go. We're taking a call. Caller, you're on the air. You're the special Vergecast for this week. Caller, what is your name? What's on your mind? This is not good. Hello? This is a total fail. Did I do something wrong? Can they hear me? Nice job, Michael. You lost the caller. Well, that was great. Is this a sign? All right, that's it. We're wrapping up. I think it's a sign from the Lord of the dance.
That was the Optimus Prime caller.
Joseph Flatley.
Joseph Flatley, one of our feature writers. All right, that's the Vergecast for this week. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us at vergecast@theverge.com. You can find The Verge on Twitter. @Verge is where you will locate us. @The Verge is not us. It's a Canadian radio station. And please ask them if we can swap names, because we're open to it. We'd love to do that. Let us know, guys. You can also ping me on Twitter. I'm Josh, @Josh Wittopolsky. Ellis is @Hamburger. I kid you not.
You had to squeeze it in.
Best
I mean,
handle.
it's incredible. Laura is @Laura_June. Underscore is not written out. It's just the symbol.
That's right.
And Dieter.
That would be cool.
And Dieter, of course, is @Backlon.
That's a really good idea.
Backlon, that's BACKLON, and he's happy to tell you the story about that name anytime you ask. Of course, you can always leave a comment on the post when it goes up. We love that. And that's it. We'll be back next week with more delicious and informative Verge casting. And until then, what happened there? You just ended it? What's that? How dare you? Great. I was just about to send warm wishes. And until then, I wish all of you in your homes happiness.
And air conditioning.
Rock and roll.
I don't know. I didn't even put those words in order. That's a horribly creepy ending. It was like a German guy ended. I wish all of you in your